All right, Ulm turn 68. Things are starting to go late game when you have to scroll the messages. So first up, research continuing as discussed. No changes there. Continuing our arcane probing. We did find a starlit pond. I believe it's just one astral, I think. And then we missed, I think, with all the other ones. Yeah. And then we had a ton of misses with our regular site searching, but this is pretty normal. Like once you start to go later, some of these guys are trying to search at like higher levels in provinces that have already been searched before. And the other thing too is when you search enemy lands, it displays as though you've never searched it, which is true. Like you've never searched it, but it doesn't show you what the enemy has searched at. So, I mean, oftentimes when you're searching, lands that you've conquered, they've already been searched before, so it's kind of questionable investment. Searching for paths that nation, isn't very good in or doesn't have access to is often a good idea, but especially if you're conquering lands later in the game and, players are more experienced, they'll probably have been able to search even in paths that aren't part of their nation. So anyway, as it goes later, you start to see more of this. Although, luck of the draw, it can happen at any time. Still getting some of our patrollers and more wyverns. We got a Mountain Fiend. So he is a Death Commander, Death 3, and we'll be using him to get up to summon the Wraith Lords that we want, which will require some empowering. So it'll still be like at least a turn or two before we can start getting Wraith Lords. And then, we caught a bunch of battles, mostly not ours, a few involving us. So, first up, Helheim against Pangea. We haven't actually seen Pangea, I think. And, wow. So, this is a lot of White Centaur, which is Pangea's sacred. And I personally kind of hate White Centaur because they're pretty simple to use. Even the AI can figure out how to use them, and they beat the crap out of me in my early Dominions career in single player. They're pretty good. They sometimes people will hell bless them, but you don't have to. Like Pangea is a fairly versatile nation. They have really good skills. They're technically not cavalry. So they do suffer a little bit from harassment. They don't get that bonus that cavalry gets to the defense being harassed down. So it's harder to harass cavalry's defense down, which they don't benefit from. But they still have good defense and good attack. And their attack will get better because they're berserker. So they can go berserk, and their protection is a little low, but hit points are good, and then they get more protection when they go berserk. Not sure why these guys have. I don't know if they normally have Spirit Sight built in. Maybe. And then they have recuperation, so afflictions are less of an issue, and they're stealthy. They get a lance, which is a charge, so they get bonus for first strike damage, and then they can throw javelins. They're just really good. They're really cool. They're really fast, which can cause a lot of problems. Maybe you have some casters out front or something, and then bam, White Centaur. Morale could be a little better, but not bad. So anyway, this is a ton of White Centaur. I don't know how many exactly this is, but this has got to be close to his recruitment for the game. I don't know, maybe he has another stack, but probably not. Then he has some of these. These are free spawn from one of the casters that Pangea gets. That just they're chaff. If they have no protection, so they just melt to everything. But later in the game, when you get the mass protection spells, they don't have very good attack density, and their attack isn't very damaging, but their skills are not terrible. So as chaff goes, it's not the worst. And then he also is using a line of Vine Ogres, and we're well familiar with those, and then a squad of Vine Ogres in the back here, and then he has a bunch of trolls. Some just the regular trolls, which, we've talked about, but then he's also got some of these war trolls, which come with this guy here, which is a Troll King. He's a Earth 3 caster. One of the ways you can climb Earth, kind of. You need at least Earth 3 to cast this spell, but you can boost one of your Earth 2s up or something like that. So anyway, oftentimes people use him to climb in Earth a little bit. But he's just an effective Earth caster, and not a terrible you could thug him, I guess. It's a bit expensive for that. I think it's like 55 earth gems to bring one of these guys in. But anyway, he also comes with these guys, these war trolls, and I think some regular trolls as well, who kind of, suffer from like all the same stuff, but they have even, better protection. So, they're not the worst. And then some of these guys, these moose knights, who, also similarly like a little bit better attack. You don't get very many. I think it's like, 2 per cast. So kind of incidental, but cool unit. So anyway, he's got a squad of trolls. Yeah, here's one of these. This is a pan. You can see like these guys are really powerful nature casters. And they're what bring these free spawn in for pan. And this guy is loaded with nature gems. Even at nature 4, I don't know if he can burn through all these. There's a lot of things he could be casting. Mass protection, relief, mass regeneration maybe would be pretty good. Yeah, there's a lot of options there. Although, kind of looks like, so he has this Troll King, so that's a caster, and he's got a bunch of Earth Gems, so that's cool. And then, he's got 1 pan, and then, let's see here. This is, a Prophet, okay. Kind of a weaker caster for Pangea, I think they can be like Earth or maybe Water. It's not a split, but random chance for one or another path. But just the one, they always get just the one path. So with Earth 1 and no gems, there's not really a whole lot, and especially since he's a Prophet, he's here to bless all these guys. So pretty light in terms of mage commitment here. And then let's see, but probably shouldn't really need it, I guess, with that many white centaur. And then so Helheim has a giant mummy who looks like he used to be a vine, not a vine ogre, whatever, the Ivy Kings there. One of them, maybe the one that died to a gaze of death. So he's back as a mummy. And he's still a powerful nature mage. In fact, and then he's got a thistle mace to boost him up even more, and a ton of nature gems. And then just your typical like small like squad. Some bodyguards, really, like not even like a squad of sacreds. So just some bodyguards on a caster who's been boosted in death and has some death gems and an earth gem. And then this guy's got some air gems. And then there's another, so a lot of casters from Helheim, really like mostly casters. And then 2 golems as well, who are fully kitted out and looking pretty nasty. So I think we've seen this kind of kit before, and looks like they have some astral pearls as well. Not sure what those are for. Maybe for like additional teleports later. They usually don't need astral pearls to get through their buffs. So interesting. And this is a Wraith Lord. Whoops. Right here. So Helheim is already summoning what we are working up to get, which is not surprising. Helheim is definitely in a better position than we are right now. So anyway, he's got a bunch of death gems, a ring regeneration, skull staff. So not really set up for combat. This is definitely a unit that you can, thug or really like super combatant, or use as a super combatant. But they come in as a death 3, which is, pretty solid death mage. And then of course he's been boosted up, with a skull staff. So definitely totally viable as a caster. Usually if you're going to go death casters, you'll go, I think, liches. But liches are in a different school of magic. So it's like if you're going conjuration, you get Wraith Lords. If you're going enchantment, then you get liches. And liches are better death casters. I think they come in at death 4. But they're a lot squishier. I think they have about half the health. And they, this guy actually comes, he put some extra armor on him, but it's not really needed. His default armor is pretty solid, and his default weapon is actually like pretty good as well. You don't really even have to gear these guys for them to be like pretty effective thugs. Definitely, if you want them to take on an army, they're probably going to need some extra kit. Although depends on what they're up against. Certainly smaller armies or armies lacking mage support, they just throw up invulnerability, soul vortex, and pretty much just go in. Usually maybe some skeletal body. is pretty standard, I think, for these Wraith Lords. So they're better in melee, but not quite as good as casters. But this guy's set up as caster, totally viable. Yeah, I don't know. we've you'd think like this many white centaur, it's hard to bet against. I haven't actually seen Pangea's Bless, so that'll be interesting. But we've seen Helheim do stuff like this, so it'll be interesting to see what the plan is. So let's see here. Got some Astral Shield, Soul Vortex. That's our Wraith Lord. Okay, I think that was Mass Protection coming out from Pangea. Yeah, and that's it's really good, right? So like kind of like already solved the White Centaur like protection issue, and then this is even before they've gone berserk. So yeah, definitely a really good choice, I would say. And it looks like one of the downsides, of course, of mass protection is everybody gets bark skin, and then you have weakness to fire. Not that Helheim has a lot of fire magic, so not really a concern here. But it looks like he's got fire resistance on his bless. Yeah, so plus 10. So he's already covered. I mean, that plus 10 goes down to plus 5, but that's fine, unless you're up against like Abyssia or somebody that's super heavy in fire magic, like 5 fire resistance is probably going to be good enough for most things. So yeah, that's, good synergy, good stuff. So yeah, he's got magic weapons. That actually will be relevant here. That Wraith Lord is, I think, ethereal, just part of the chassis, so it'll help there. And probably also against like some mist form and stuff like that, which Helheim might be casting on some of his guys. Decay weapons, which is kind of interesting. It usually, we've seen decay against the Jarl, that killed him through aging. So especially like the Wraith Lord is going to be really, I'm not even sure if you can decay undead. I think you can, but it's pretty difficult. They usually have very high like max ages. And the elves often have really high max ages, and then I believe it's also a magic resistance check against decay weapons, so you don't automatically get decayed. And Helheim stuff has mostly good magic resistance, so I don't think this is going to help too much here, although certainly it is something that if in terms of using it the whole game, nobody likes to go up against decay weapons because you'll often lose stuff, after even battles that you win, especially, if you're a human nation, like Ulm, although, we kind of just swarm with a lot of, less valuable troops. So if few of them get decayed, well, that's part of it. But especially if you're going up against like some high value sacreds, and you don't like to see decay weapons, so kind of a bit of a deterrent, I think, but not the strongest bless. And then shock resistance, never bad, and poison resistance, especially because Pangea can do foul vapors. So yeah, putting poison resistance on your sacreds is a doubly good idea, since you're going to see a lot of foul vapors in all likelihood, and then you can use foul vapors. And then yeah, it looks like a little bit of HP, probably had some leftover nature magic or something like that. So kind of incidental, but yeah, not a crazy bless, but not a bad bless. Not really boosting up, their stats any more than normal. That said, they already have good stats, so not strictly necessary. And in these numbers, yeah, it's gonna be rough. So somebody's casting Arrow Fend. I think that's probably this guy. That's interesting. So that's you're going to prevent, any, it gives everybody air shield. We'll see. That's probably on Helheim's side. I don't think there's any air casters. A lot of javelins coming from these centaurs potentially is probably what that's designed to counter. So not a bad idea. Not sure. Okay, mass regeneration coming out from the giant mummy. And so, yeah, regeneration is really good if you can put it on everybody on the battlefield. It's not going to matter so much for, like the elven cavalry and his elven casters. But I don't know if... Yeah, so inanimates can't regenerate. And there's different ways to gain life into minions. So, for instance, this Wraith Sword will do life drain. Right, and I believe the golems can gain life from life drain effects, which is a separate but similar effect to regeneration. So inanimates can't regenerate, but they can take advantage of any kind of like life drain effect. Wraith Sword is probably the most common way to do that, but this being Dominions, I'm sure there's other ways. So yeah, kind of an interesting choice, I guess. And I don't think the undead do benefit. Okay, yeah, because he's not inanimate. So I guess the fact that he's undead is fine. And yeah, I think this is stacking. Yeah, so he's getting 10% from the ring and then 10% from the spell. So this guy's regenerating 20%. That's actually, yeah, that's significant for sure. So yeah, not what I was expecting, because usually you see it on, for instance, like Mass Regeneration would be a bit better on, these White Centaur. Not a lot better, but anyway, any kind of giants, obviously, like say like Niflheim, regeneration is very strong on them because of that high hit point total. So yeah, kind of interesting. We'll see. You can see these White Centaur really fast. There's not a lot of time here. What's the play? Okay, anti-magic. So anti-magic is just going to boost everybody's magic resistance. That'll help against the decay weapons. So you can see like this is pretty high, for just a unit, right? Magic resistance 19 is really high. And then like some of the casters, yeah, magic resistance 22. So yeah, I'd say there's some mist form. But of course, these guys have magic weapons. But I think the decay weapons won't matter too much here. So that's a good call. I don't know if the anti-magic was specifically for the decay weapons. Also, it's late enough that you see a lot of really nasty spells that are going to require magic resistance checks. So anti-magic is kind of one of those things that if you can, any army or group that you really care about, put some anti-magic in it if you can. So it might just be like general, just covering your bases. And yeah, I don't know, is this guy retreating? But I don't know if this is going to be enough here. Like, yeah, they're in, and like, yeah, I think that was a hell hurting, I think, and that might have been a hell hurting too. So this is not looking good. And I mean, okay, these golems are definitely kind of scary. It was the golems they used the pearls for anti-magic, at least one of them. And yeah, the other guy, he might have gotten interrupted. Yeah, you can see he already has an affliction, right? They're already starting to get chipped down. Like, yeah, these golems are scary, but I mean, it's like, this is just the first wave too, right? Like, there's a whole nother wave of White Centaur here, probably on like hold and attack. What are we doing back here? Let's see, Legions of Steel. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad choice. It's a little light in terms of, but I mean, I guess he's probably looking at just getting it on the trolls. So yeah, just trying to buff up like that one particular squad. Marble Warriors, yeah, so that's an excellent protection buff. So yeah, just really trying to get the protection of these trolls, as high as possible. And then let's see what that Pan has been doing with all of his nature gems. So yeah, mass protection, army of giants, that's okay, I guess. I mean, that does take nature gems. And like, yeah, some extra strength and hit points is never a bad thing. The area of effect is like not that big. Maybe he's going to cast it like multiple times. So like, yeah, probably trying to buff up, some of these White Centaur that didn't go in immediately. But yeah, I mean, they're normally size 3. So you can see like, yeah, most of these guys are still size 3. So I'm not even sure, he might have hit the trolls. Yeah, he hit the trolls because of course they have more hit points. And the casting AI, they love that. Although that said, yeah, I mean, these guys regenerate, right? So having them get even more hit points is going to make that regeneration more effective, right? And now their protection is quite high thanks to Marble Warriors. So yeah, not the worst thing. So yeah, and then let's see, we had a global go up. Probably, yeah, Rigor Mortis. Yeah, from the Wraith Lord. Okay, so this is a fatigue play. So he's looking to, just fatigue out, this whole army, which I think is going to be a tall order. The White Centaur they berserk, and berserkers, it is like they generate extra fatigue. I'm not actually sure exactly how that works, like how much extra fatigue they get, but I know that fatigue can be a problem for berserkers. That said, like, there's not that much to cut through here. So, and like, they don't have, like, you know, they gotta get up to 100, and like this guy's at 6, or this guy's at 0. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll see here. They are starting to get paralyzed, right, by the astral shields here, because they don't have the greatest magic resistance, and they don't actually have fantastic attack skill. 12 is not bad, but this, you know, the Elven, like 24 defense, it's actually going to be pretty hard to connect. Although, yeah, they're definitely, right, this guy's glamour just got popped. I was going to say, like, the glamour is also going to help. Yeah, I don't know. They're going to be seeing so many attacks, these hell hurtings. I think that was some swarm, probably also from our pan. Yeah. And then, what the heck? I'm not familiar. Oh, okay. This must be one of Pan's heroes. I'm not actually familiar with this unit. That's kind of cool. So it's a centaur and a dryad. I think Pangea gets recruitable dryads of a couple different flavors, I think. So yeah, this same kind of unit that, you know, has been teaching a few of our mages some nature magic secrets. So yeah, this is a potential foul vaporous caster here, and wow, really powerful awe 4. Anyway, yeah, so this is really cool. Yeah, really cool hero. But it looks like just using priest abilities here. Not sure if they had any gems. Let's take a quick look, see what they've been doing. Yeah, so just using them as a priest, I guess. Maybe I don't know if they're a priest 3. Maybe they're just a backup for blessing. No, they're only a priest level 2. So yeah, kind of an interesting use. I mean, Sermon of Courage isn't the worst thing, especially because, you know, the White Centaur, you know, could use a little extra morale. You know, yeah, this guy maybe has been boosted. Yeah, Divine Spell, that could be. No, this is from the Bless. So yeah, so Sermon of Courage got some of these guys. So yeah, maybe just trying to improve the morale, you know, of some of the Centaur. So yeah, that's cool. And yeah, I would say that our squad here is in a bit of trouble here for Helheim. They're about to be surrounded and drowned in White Centaur. And although there are some soul vortexes up, yeah, I think that was a caster. There goes the javelins. Wow. So even with, yeah, so here's the air shield, right? That was the arrow fend, and definitely a good call. But I mean, even there's just so many. It's like 80% of them get blocked. But like, this is a ton of javelins. And White Centaur are decently strong, right? Definitely stronger than, you know, just a base human. I mean, they're not giants or anything, but still, this is like a more damaging, like, javelin attack than normal. And so, yeah, I mean, so the golems are still okay-ish. Yeah, this guy's back down. I mean, you know, they are getting life drain with their Wraith swords, but the casters are mostly gone, although it looks like the Rigor Mortis, yeah, so it was the Wraith Lord that cast Rigor Mortis, who is basically asleep, probably from that cast. But, I mean, you know, it does have the 20% regeneration. So, I mean, for some of the battlefield-wide spells, if it's an immediate effect, it doesn't matter if the caster dies, right? So for something like Mass Protection, where it just, you know, boosts the protection for all the units on the battlefield, if it goes off, then, you know, it went off, and if the caster that cast it dies, that's fine. It doesn't change the effect. So same with, like, the air shield. Probably the guy that cast air shield is either dead or, you know, has run off, but everybody still has air shield. But if the caster who cast, you know, the battlefield, like, I don't know, it's a battlefield enchantment, I guess. If they die, then the enchantment goes down. So like slightly different types of like battlefield-wide spells. So if this Wraith Lord goes down, then Rigor Mortis goes down. And let's take a look. So fatigue is starting to stack up, especially on these guys. Wow, yeah, who are in combat. Yeah, this is starting to get high. For some of the other guys, though, yeah, still not too much, right? You can see that, you know, Rigor Mortis really does take a while. You know, it's similar to Foul Vapors, where it's, you know, just going to randomly hit units across, like, the whole battlefield. And then, of course, like these Vine Ogres, they don't care about Rigor Mortis, right? Like Encumbrance 0 units do not care, about fatigue plays, generally. I'm sure there's, like, they can be frozen sometimes, but anyway, not Rigor Mortis. So, yeah, but certainly the White Centaur that are in combat, yes, so it's just down to the Golems and the Wraith Lord. Wow, yeah, that's a lot of javelins. But you can see that, like, they are struggling to deal enough damage, right? And with the life, like, regen, especially for this guy. Okay, so he did get hit with the withering, or the decay weapons, and he is decaying. But you can see, like, okay, so, his current age is 620 and his max age is 1500. So that is going to take a while, and I don't know what the deal is for the Golems. Let's see, they've been hit, but you can see even though they've been hit quite a few times, they're still not decaying. I'm not sure if you can decay inanimates. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But anyway, their max age, so their current age is 0, max age is 2000, so even if they could be decayed, which I'm not sure they can, like, it would take a really, really long time for it to matter. So we'll see. Yeah, some terror, like attacking the morale is not a bad play. This guy's probably off script now, and the Golems, are just in melee doing their thing. The Wraith Lord also has a chill aura, which, that's going to help out a lot with the fatigue. That's no doubt why these guys, in addition to being in combat, right? Because you can see some of these guys, it's still pretty high fatigue actually. So like 58, right? Some of the guys that are a little farther away from the Wraith Lord but are still in combat, like, they have high fatigue, but the guys that are also getting frozen, that's a dragonfly, 64. So it's not hitting all of them equally, but yeah, some of these guys are asleep now, right? And that's just going to provide like right, like that cushion that can happen in Dominions a lot of times. So yeah, that's a decay tick right there. So I mean, you can see that, like, they're already starting to see, like, a lot fewer attacks, and now all of a sudden this is starting to look scary for Pangea, because I mean, he pretty much just has the White Centaur, and there isn't really a lot of caster support, and he doesn't have relief or anything like that's going to help. Relief just basically does the reverse of Rigor Mortis. It periodically, like, refreshes all your units across the whole battlefield. So I mean, there still are units filtering up, but I mean, like, these guys, they're never going to be able to kill these Golems. Like, it's really got to be the White Centaur or bust here, I think. Maybe the Trolls, if they manage to get up. But, of course, the Trolls are they're not slow, but they're a heck of a lot slower than the White Centaur. So it's mostly just the White Centaur that have made it up. And, like, the Vine Ogres, also very unlikely, to be able to punch through, like, these Golems. I mean, they might get some chip, but, you can see, like, yeah, he has some damage on him. But with the Wraith Sword, like, he's going to be able to, to bring himself back down. Although, yeah, he will be able to drain the Vine Ogres, I believe. Because, yeah, they're not inanimate. And it looks like I'm going to have to eat my words here, because, yeah, the Vine Ogres definitely are fatiguing out. Let's see, are all of them? Yeah, that's pretty high for an Encumbrance 0. So I think, yeah, that's 97. So yeah, I guess Encumbrance 0 does not matter. It's probably, I'm guessing, you have to be an inanimate specifically to avoid the effects of Rigor Mortis. And these guys are not inanimates. They're mindless magic beings, but not inanimate. So yeah, they actually will definitely care about Rigor Mortis. That was my mistake. Yeah, and this is not looking good now. I think a lot of these Centaur, yeah, especially, like, yeah, the ones that are close by, yeah. Wow. So pretty much everything is close to or fatigued out. And now, yeah, I mean, there's a few bugs. I think the casters are almost assuredly fatigued out. Yeah, right, because, they tend to stack up really high fatigue anyway from their casting, and they're getting hit by Rigor Mortis. So, like, yeah, all the casters are asleep. Pretty much the whole army is asleep. And now, yeah, I mean, raising some dead. And so now just these three guys are probably just going to murder this whole army. Oh wow, 28. Was that? Oh, that might have been from the Wraith Lord. I thought somebody got a hit in on him. Yeah. So yeah, now this couple just has to watch on as all of their white centaur brethren are slowly hacked to death by 2 golems and a Wraith Lord, and then, you know, the dead centaur that have been raised, brought back to life, you know, to kill their friends. Dominion's not a happy place. This isn't a happy time. Much better, you know, when there's just one god in charge and we haven't unleashed all the horrible magic into the world. Just going. The computer loves to raise skeletons, although in this case, because the undead are inanimate, at least these particular undead anyway, so they're not going to worry about rigor mortis, and, you know, it's like they don't need any skills. They will struggle a little bit, I think, to chop through, you know, the protection, but 15 is not that high. And you can see, like, yeah, they're just, like, slowly just chewing their way through everything. And, yeah, this is a brutal battle for Pangea. I don't know if this is all of his sacreds, but it's got to be close to. It's got to be most of his sacreds. A little bit of life drain, because, like, sure, why not? And just so many skeletons. You can see, like, yeah, the death 4, I think raised dead only requires, like, 2 death. So, like, you know, the fatigue for it is, like, not too bad. You know, if you're death 4, like, you can really pump out a lot of skeletons, and, you know, just soulless. So, wow. So, yeah, I think Pangea's going to lose everything here. I don't think anybody's going to be able to escape. And, yeah, so that's a fatigue play. That's rigor mortis. So, yeah, I mean, it was looking dicey. That almost didn't work, I would say, for Helheim. You know, I mean, he did lose. Like, this is a cap-only mage, I believe. Like, very expensive, slow to recruit. Definitely hurts to lose one of these guys. You know, never a good thing to lose a Van Jarl. Less of an issue. And then, you know, he lost a few sacreds. That's not great. But, I mean, you know, only 11 losses. And in return, I mean, this has got to be a huge portion. I mean, Pangea didn't lose too many casters, so, you know, that's on the plus side of things for Pangea. Although they did lose a hero, that always hurts. You know, I mean, this is 55 Earth Gems, more or less. Well, really, yeah, probably all of it, because this is probably the trolls that he came with. And then, but, I mean, it's like, you know, to lose 212. So a few White Centaur actually did manage to escape. That's impressive. But, I mean, to lose 212 of your sacreds, like, that's, you just won't ever have that many White Centaur again in this game, you know. So, I mean, maybe he has other forces. Hopefully he has other forces. I'm sure he must have other things. But yeah, he won't be able to use White Centaur again, and all, not in any kind of numbers like this. So, wow, that's a huge win for Helheim. So, yeah, and then another battle in this ongoing war between Lanka and Sorry, I'm blanking on the faction names. And, yeah, this is kind of just a random assortment of stuff. And so I actually hadn't realized it's possible that Lanka had already gone AI in a previous turn or previous couple of turns. But yeah, I noticed definitely this turn Lanka has gone AI. And so yeah, this is the kind of genius plays that you can expect once the AI takes over. I think sometimes people do underestimate the AI because it gets so much... It gets cheated for. They get a ton of extra resources and money and etc. So the AI can pump out a surprising amount of stuff off of just, you know, a few provinces and a few forts. But how it uses that stuff, not great. So mostly it just, you know, recruits a bunch of stuff and throws it at you. So anyway, has no problem with this random attack from the AI. They lose 1 Spear Guard, and that's fine. I think they'll survive. And then there's a battle between Helheim and Marverni. And yeah, this is just, I think this is the same mummy. Yeah. Raiding onwards. Yeah, against minimal PD. I mean, he's going to have no problem there. So let's see. Yeah, no problem. So mummies, apparently decent raiders. I mean, this is super minimal bat PD, which is, you know, not the best PD out there. So hard to really judge. And then, yeah, another battle between Pangea and Helheim. Hopefully this goes better and is maybe like something else that Pangea... Nope, more White Centaur. So at least that wasn't all of his White Centaur. This looks like just like kind of a White Centaur raiding group. Yeah, against moderate PD commitment. But, you know, you can see, like, as long as they're not getting put to sleep by Rigor Mortis, Yeah, and this is like an attack rear, it looks like. You're going to struggle a little bit, then, you know, missing that, but yeah, they rout everybody off. But anyway, yeah, the attack skill, not so great. So against elves, it's going to be a little tough using these guys, but against PD, no problem with those White Centaur. Definitely very good units. And then we had a battle against Macone in our ongoing war. And then this is Spectre number 2, coming back for revenge against this PD that killed his brother, or at least, you know, they're probably not related. But regardless, for the honor of spectral mages everywhere, our possibly over-kitted spectral mage is going to take out this PD, because he really shouldn't. You can see that is one thing. Although his attack skill has been boosted, but even with the boosted attack skill, he is struggling a little bit to connect. Although, yeah, you can see the fear effect, right? It's like, you know, if you can't kill him, then usually you can scare him off. The militia, much less, you know, much less defense score. So, you know, he's able to get through them, no problem. And then, yeah, scares everybody else off. So, you know, Spectres, they can work. So no problem there for this guy. That's good news. And then there was a battle between Helheim and Marverni on Arcocephales' old capital. And this just looks like a ping. So this is, I think, Helheim just pinging with kind of random commander against what Marverni has. And some boars, fewer, and then now he's got some of these ancient presences. And yeah, I'm not super familiar with these. I think they're Conjuration 9. They're definitely like high-level research. They're probably not cheap either. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty interesting. So size 6, ton of hit points, ton of strength, decent attack skill, low defense, that's fine. Low prot, that kind of hurts. But they have a ton of hit points, and they do have 20% regeneration. So, you know, that's going to be pretty tough to deal with. Pretty effective fear aura, like some built-in like blunt and pierce resistances. It looks like they are vulnerable to fire. They're undead, and then they'll just slime anybody that's near them. So yeah, they get slowed, so they take fewer actions, and then yeah, reduced attack and defense skill. So yeah, I'd say these guys are pretty rough to go up against in melee, and then yeah, they can also devour. I'm assuming this is similar to the cubes, where they can just eat units like wholesale, although these guys are size 6, so they can probably eat more than the cubes can. And they can also steal strength, which I think just reduces unit strength that get hit by it. It doesn't look like it deals any damage, so that's kind of interesting. So I guess they just eat guys. And then having your strength taken, you know, it's going to reduce damage. So yeah, these guys... And yeah, he's buffing up some of them, so like he made this one ethereal, classic. And he's got some mage support here. This is a Mound Fiend, which we just summoned. He's using him in combat. Looks like this Mound Fiend has been enlarged, maybe for some extra hit points or something. He's got, you know, just a little bit of armor to keep him alive. Not sure, no gems, so not sure what he's here for. Yeah, maybe just some skeletons. Never a bad thing, I guess, to have a few skeletons. So yeah, anyway, something a little different than like only boars. So we'll have to see. You know, hopefully we get to see these ancient presences in action. And then we got raided by Macone here, and this is just in the province. This is like, yeah, just one of these lame casters. Got a few earth gems, and then a couple of ogres as bodyguards. So yeah, this is pretty budget raiding. But you know, I think this is 6 PD. I don't know, actually. We could win this. I mean, okay, militia are pretty lame. Maybe we can't. Heavy infantry are like, okay. You know, ogres aren't that great, though, although when they hit, it's, oh, yeah, no, we're definitely going to lose this. So, yeah, we've seen these summons before. Nice. That's a good use of, like, earth gems. I didn't even, yeah, so he probably boosted himself up and then, you know, used his other earth gem to summon these in. And, yeah, there's no way RPD can take this. So, nice. That was a nice raid. And then, yeah, there was a battle between Yomi and Marverni. We'll take a look at that. I believe, yeah, this is a fortress assault. So let's take a look. And And Helheim has one bird defending, who's old, probably because of burden of time. So yeah, I think Yomi's going to take this no problem, because holy crap, that is a ton of Dione. So, we've seen the Dione before. They're the super combat. Wow, there's a lot of gear too. So yeah, these guys are capital only, and they're slow to recruit. So like this is a lot of Dione in similar fashion to the White Centaur, stack that we just saw. Like he probably doesn't have a ton more Dione than this. I don't know. It is fairly late game, so if he's just been recruiting Dione out of his capital, like nonstop, you could have significantly more than this, but not. This is probably at least half, I would say, of like all possible Dione that he could have. So like, yeah, this is a massive concentration of force. Wow, this guy has that is a ton of fire gems. And yeah, just like a ton of, some of these guys are like super geared. So yeah, this is super scary. Not really sure, right? Because like each of these guys is like maybe not quite as strong as a Jarl, but arguably it's kind of interesting. Okay, yeah, this guy's got some death. So yeah, more skull staffs, more death casting. But anyway, yeah, we never faced off against, I don't know how many this is, but nowhere close. I think like 6 Jarls is the most that we ever faced off against. This is a heck of a lot more than 6. So anyway, this is terrifying force from Yomi. He also has just a ton of archers, which, yeah, well, seen how that can go. So less worried about the archers. Probably mostly just here for siege strength, I would say. And some cover for his Dione to get through their script. But yeah, that is a terrifying force. Let's see, how many Dione? Yeah, wow, 19 Dione. But anyway, yeah, they have no problem taking out the lone Great Hawk. And then we had a assault on Makon's fortress here. And there wasn't too much in here, so I think we should take this no problem. Although we've seen how these discuses can go. Hopefully we don't lose a caster. Oh boy. Yep. There's a couple going back in there. And then of course this guy, does he have, he doesn't have any death gems. Thank heavens. Because yeah, he's soul vortexing. Nice. Well, not nice for us. I think he might have gone up, because I think he was death 2, blood 2 when we saw him last. So when units die, if they're death mages, when they come back, if they die and they come back to life, due to twice spawning usually, although there's probably a few other mechanics that can cause it. Anyway, if for whatever reason death mages die and come back, it's possible that they gain a level in death magic, because I guess dying, maybe teaches you a thing or two about death magic. So anyway, yeah, this guy's death 3 now, which means he can cast Soul Vortex, which is not great. So, because we've seen how our human troops do, and then he summons some dead to cover himself. However, does he? Oh, he's invulnerable too. Yeah, so this is like, the Neefel Jarl combination. So I don't think this is going to go, well, okay, but he's not a Neefel Jarl. So that's the good news. He has much lower protection, and he's not regenerating on top of like 1,000,000 hit points. So yeah, there's just not enough, and our gargoyles are doing a decent job of wiping out the wall defenders here. Although I'm sure those discuses knocked out a few people. Our hero is still alive, so that's good news. It looks like this actually did not trigger gem usage, because our hero is here with gems. Like, he could have cast Howl but chose not to. So yeah, this wasn't even enough stuff to trigger gem usage. So that went more or less fine. Did lose a decent number of axe warriors, which hurts, but no casters, which is huge. And then yeah, Makon lost what was left, which not much in there. And then let's see, a handful of air gems, losing some province income, of course. Deadly mold, so we lose some province defense. And then let's see here, stars are right for evocation, which we are still not taking advantage of. And then, yeah, we had some scouts getting discovered, and we finished construction of a fortress, and our patrollers cleaned some stuff out. All right, so what do we do in this turn? Kind of a slower turn. We're going to be taking back this province from Makon's raiders. We don't really have any other provinces that we want to take, but we do want to threaten his capital and possibly jump onto his capital. Still not planning on, sneaking it out from our allies, Hinnom, but starting to get a little worried because not seeing Hinnom jump on top of it. So we have a scout moving in to try to see, has he moved an army up, or like, yeah, what the deal is. He says he's moving up, so we'll see, hopefully. If he's a little bit behind, then we can just jump on top of it and sit on it to prevent recruitment, and then when he's ready to actually jump on, we'll just move off. And also, we definitely don't want, his raiders to start to get loose into the rest of our territory. And this is the only bridge for quite a ways. He could cross here because our dominion is on both sides of this river. But otherwise, the river is still intact as a boundary, at least for anything that, can't swim or go underwater or anything like that. So our army is more or less what we've seen, a little ragged. These axe warriors probably should be combined. They're sitting on top of these whites. They do have cold resistance, but the whites' cold aura or chill aura is pretty nasty, so it might not be enough. So yeah, it's probably not great that these axe warriors are sitting on top of them. We are a little reduced in terms of our numbers. We have started to work in, some more of our human troops. We actually have like some axe warriors now and a few more steel maidens, with some warrior chiefs and everything down here. And we still have our gargoyles, although significantly fewer than before. But this should be enough to at least, prevent Macone from breaking out if we do need to, sit on his capital. Probably would want a little more than this if we were to try to go in. But again, we're not going to be trying to storm his capital. And that is pretty much it in terms of, attacks and combat. Lanka is AI now, so we'll see. The AI is really difficult to predict. So, it could raid out. We may have to send this force against whatever. I mean, this is enough guys that I would be a little bit worried. Maybe we would want a little more mage support. Bring up, a couple nature casters, get some bugs out there just to like bulk up the numbers. I think, our gargoyles would be able to cut through most of this without too much trouble. But the lizard warriors especially like hit hard enough that, we could lose. We could definitely lose gargoyles. We don't want to lose gargoyles, just, cleaning the AI out, of our territory. So yeah, probably would want to bulk these forces up a little bit, if the AI raids out. But hopefully it'll prioritize trying to free its fort, or it'll just stay at home and leave us alone. So yeah, we'll see. Never really know what the AI is going to be doing. Hoping to catch some action between and Baratos. Haven't really seen Baratos, fight in a really long time, so really have no idea, what they're doing. We've seen fight a decent amount, but it'd definitely be interesting to see, how he stacks up against Baratos, and just, keep an eye on the progress, because, if Baratos really starts to push back, is possibly somebody that we could attack, or conversely, if cleans out Baratos really quickly, then is going to be looking possibly for another target. I mean, we have a nap, but we also share like a pretty substantial border now, especially like now that he's captured this from Baratos, and if he holds it. So definitely want to keep an eye on that war. Obviously, still trying to keep an eye on this massive war here with Helheim. That is another thing that potentially, another direction we could potentially go. Don't want to jump into anything yet until, we kind of close out this situation with Macone a little bit more. And we really kind of need to build up our forces. Like I said, our main army here is looking like a little ragged. We do have, some other squads. It's just actually Vine Ogres and a few Axe Warriors. So really just like one other squad, I believe. Just, random magic summons here and there, Terracotta Warriors. Two other squads. So here's our other squad hanging out. And this is really just sort of an insurance in case like Helheim jumps in against us, which probably not, but, you never know. And you never know, we might be able to, take advantage of, any kind of Niflheim breakout. So usually a good idea to try to have at least something, I feel like, on your borders, because, getting this all the way over to respond to something that Helheim does, like that's going to take a few turns. And we are maybe a little bit split right now, but we don't have any huge enemies currently, so we don't really need to doom stack at the moment. So anyway, yeah, so we have this force here, we have this force here, and then kind of our main stack here. In terms of plans, I don't think we've actually looked at the wyverns that we've been summoning. Let's see, where are they hanging out? Yeah, so here they are. Like I said, the main thing is, this shock resistance 15, which is pretty rare on a unit. And so, we don't have to, really buff that up at all. Now, I mean, if you're getting hit with like thunder strikes and stuff, it's still going to hurt quite a bit. But with their 35 hit points and, 15 shock resistance and decent protection, they're going to stand up to thunder strikes and stuff a heck of a lot better than a lot of units. Now, they are animals, which is a bit of a downside because there are spells, that target animals specifically that can mess them up. And that said, they actually have really good magic resistance for animals, like really good magic resistance. Most animals are, single digits. This is actually like better than, than a lot of just regular troops. So that's kind of nice and sort of makes it not as bad that they're animals as compared to the normal situation. They have 2 attacks at like solid attack skill. Their defense skill is mediocre, and their protection is decent but not great. And they're a little tough to buff up in terms of protection because they don't wear any armor, and like the protection buffing spells pretty much. Mostly, so Legions of Steel kind of buffs up your armor, but since they don't wear any armor, Legions of Steel wouldn't affect them anyway. But most of the ways that spells increase your protection is via natural protection. And so since they already have pretty good natural protection, certainly they would benefit from like an Iron Skin sort of effect that's going to bring them up to 20, but it's just, there's less of an advantage. And you can't really, because they wear no armor, and there isn't really any way magic, armor that you can cast onto people, as far as I know. It's just harder to push their protection, into the stratosphere. But it's nice that, even without any work, their protection is at least mediocre. And then, 2 attacks, which is nice. One of which is, magic with this poison. I'm not sure if the paralyzing is better or worse. Armor negating is actually really nice, so armor doesn't matter in terms of like the damage. Now, I think they do have to land a hit and break through the armor, because it's an extra effect on damage. So like their tail does need to do damage, but if it does, then the poison itself isn't going to worry about armor. And it's probably, it's just going to do a bunch of fatigue damage. So, I don't know. It's not actual damage, but, sometimes fatigue damage can mess units up, like, more. So, it really depends on the situation. But still, it's just nice to have, like, some magic damage, even if it's poison. And 2 attacks is always nice. They are size 5, so their attack density is still not great. Probably the biggest, and then they are poison resistant, which is nice, so you don't have to worry about foul vapors. If we want to do some foul vapors traps to people, it's kind of late to be doing that. Usually by this point, most people have figured out some sort of access to nature, or, probably foul vapors has destroyed them. They wouldn't be here. But you never know. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like they've been protecting themselves against foul vapors for a while, and then they're thinking like, I probably don't have to worry about it anymore. They don't really do that. And then, so if you see an opening, you never know. These guys don't have to worry about it, so they can help cover, a foul vapors caster, or if we go up against foul vapors, it's just nice to be poison resistant. Probably the biggest issue is they're cold-blooded, which I actually did not catch. And so, cold-blooded, they fatigue out really fast in cold provinces, and we are cold 3. So unless we're on the offensive, these guys kind of have a pretty severe clock in terms of like how many attacks they're gonna get in, which is a big problem. So yeah, in retrospect, like I don't know, we'll see. This could definitely be an issue, but all the rest of it is pretty nice. And they have a couple survivals, which is interesting. Just helps with movement. Although they're flyers anyway, so I mean, their map move is good, which is nice. So yeah, anyway, trying to bring these guys in. Like I said, they're kind of slow to mass, so we've only got 6 of them right now. We're bringing them in only like 4 at a time. I didn't realize this at the time, and I don't really take advantage of it, but there is an item that can help you summon them faster. So let's see here. It is this guy, this Dragon Scepter. And so yeah, so this just gives you Dragon Mastery. There's a couple, I think some units just have Dragon Mastery, and there's probably other ways to get it. But it's sort of like Ivy Lord, which helps you summon more Vinemen and more Vine Ogres. So anyway, Dragon Mastery, yeah, they just say like dragon-like creatures. You can see at the bottom there. So yeah, it just helps you summon more dragons. Well, there's actually not a ton of dragons in Dominions other than like the Pretender chassis, but there are like the Fire Drakes and the Ice Drakes, which are both affected by this, and I thought that it was just them, but apparently Wyverns count as well. So would have been better to forge one of these, or 2 of these, one for each of our Wyvern summoners. And I think it's just like one, like this just means you get 1 more of the unit, but I mean it's per cast, so so that'd be huge. But I didn't realize this, so don't take advantage of it, and we summon them in nice and slow. But anyway, so we're getting the Wyverns, again, mostly because we've been seeing a lot of Wrathful Skies, and it's not a terrible way to use our air gems, because we can't really, we have 2 guys really that can like summon full-size air elementals, and air elementals are really good, but like tops like 4 full-sized air elementals like in a battle. And I mean, like, well, we're gonna be using like maybe 6 gems to accomplish that or something, 8 gems a battle. Like, I don't know, like how useful that. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but it's kind of like, I don't know. They seem like better use to just bring in some more troops. So we'll see how that goes. But then also related to Wrathful Skies, we're having our god bring in some mechanical men, and they're pretty cool. They have resistance to like basically everything, I think, like all elemental damages and poison, I believe, and they have really good protection. Again, I think they have a shield, but otherwise no armor, so it's mostly just natural protection, and I think they're at 20. We can take a look at them maybe next turn when we actually have some, because we just started. So anyway, but yeah, so they're very shock resistant, so also is going to be really good against Wrathful Skies, and they're not bad. Like, they have low hit points, so they have like, I think 7 or 8, less than like your average amount of hit points, so that's a bit problematic. They can be a bit brittle, where it's like, okay, yeah, they have good protection and their stats are decent and they don't have to worry about fatigue or a lot of all the various wipes and spells, but if somebody just hits them decently hard, then they just kind of die, and they're decently expensive to summon in, so we'll see. That's another one that maybe is a waste of gems, maybe not, we'll see. But yeah, getting some of those to help bulk out our forces, and with an eye to deal with some Wrathful Skies, either from Helheim or Vanheim. And again, they don't care about poison either, so also going to be useful for use with Foul Vapors, or against, again, can definitely use Foul Vapors, so we may see some Foul Vapors used against us in the future. So yeah, I think that covers most of it. Actually, no, one more thing. So we are also working on getting the Wraith Lords. However, because of lack of planning, we're going to have to empower. So I haven't really talked about empowerment, but you can pretty much, I mean, you can make anybody a mage, right? The dominions, you can do just about anything. Like, hey, if we wanted to make Trickster, the best air mage that there ever was, you can do it. You would just have to spend a ton of air gems to accomplish this, but you could. So pretty much any commander. I don't think there's any restrictions. I could be wrong on that, but for the most part, any commander, you have an option, an order, empowerment, and it brings up this screen. And then, you can empower, all the way up to, I think level 10 is like the max base path that you can get. So I don't think you can empower past level 10. I don't even know what it would cost to empower to level 10. Even going from 9 to 10 is probably just absolutely disgusting and not like a realistic thing that you could do unless it's like really, really late game or something. But anyway, the other empowering is definitely something that comes up and it is useful. I know I personally always feel a little bit like I've failed every time I have to empower because ideally you're finding other ways, to wiggle around through boosters, because boosters are kind of better in some ways. You can transfer them around between commanders, which is extremely useful. Whereas, like, obviously when you empower, like, it's the investment is tied to that one specific unit, and it's extra scary because it's like, well, if that unit dies, it's like now you've lost a ton of gems on top of like whatever else you're losing. And I mean, of course, if commander holding a booster dies, there's a good chance that the enemy is going to grab it or that it's just lost. So it's not like you can't lose gems that you've used on boosters as well. But yeah, empowering is usually more expensive too compared to most of the boosters. So ideally, if you can use boosters and some planning with usually your pretender chassis or your national summons or just regular summons, it's probably better to do it that way in a lot of cases, but I think empowerment is a pretty normal part of the game. Even though I feel like I should have found a more clever way to do it, sometimes it's just the best option. So yeah, empowering from 0 to 1 is steep. It's 50 gems. So if you're trying to break somebody in a totally new path, it's gonna cost you. That said, though, if you are already, let's see if we can find like this guy, from level 1 to 2 is significantly less, right? So you can see like the cost goes down to just 30 gems, which is much more reasonable. But then after that, it starts to climb. So for our guy, we need, let's see here. So we want to call Wraith Lord, right? You need 5 death for that. It's 40 gems. Not cheap to call these guys in. But our guy's death 4. Now we have a skull staff somewhere. Yeah, here we go. So we can get him up to death 4, with the booster, but that's it. Now there is another death booster, and I mean there's other boosters, there's other ways you could do this, but we don't really have access to that other stuff. So we're going to be going from death 3 to death 4. So if we look at his empowerment cost, 3 to 4 is going to be 60 death gems. So you can see, like, once you hit like 3 to 4, it's even more expensive than breaking into the path in the first place. So again, like, going from 9 to 10, I don't know what that is, but it's a lot. And 60 is a lot. We do not have 60 currently. So we're just waiting one more turn, and then we'll have enough, and then we can empower him. But yeah, so it's pretty rough to empower because that's with our discount. 60 gems is pretty close. With our discount for Wraith Lords, they're going to cost 32 death gems. So, I mean, this empowerment is going to cost us close to, 2 Wraith Lords. So, yeah, it always hurts to use those gems, but, I mean, without the empowerment, we're going to get 0 Wraith Lords. I mean, we could just keep summoning Specters, but I think Wraith Lords are enough of an upgrade that it's definitely worth it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Specters, but, I mean, for starters, Wraith Lords are more powerful death mages. Technically, a Spectre could get death 3, but it's pretty unlikely, whereas a Wraith Lord is guaranteed death 3. But really the biggest thing is that Wraith Lords are immortal. So when they die, they just come back for free. And Specter's definitely not immortal. So if you lose them, say, to some province defense, then that's just, 22 death gems down the drain. Versus, Wraith Lord, it's like, okay, it hurts to lose them sometimes if they're carrying gear, but, they'll at least pop back up, so that investment of gems, is retained. So yeah, immortals are really useful, just in general, but I think especially for the end game. So anyway, that's just a bit of discussion about empowerment, and, what our plans are in terms of getting the Wraith Lords. And I think that covers turn 68.